we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to our subject matter experts from CBJ and our partner agencies. Thank you to our members of the media that are joining us online. And thank you to our CBJ residents, friends, neighbors, and allies across the country that are tuning in today. My name is Ashley Heimbigner. I'm the Communications Director for the City and Borough of Juneau. I'm also serving as the Public Information Officer as part of this disaster response. I'm going to move ahead quickly. We have a lot to cover today, and we have a lot of folks online to share some important information with all of you. On that note, we do have representatives from the City and Borough of Juneau, from the State of Alaska Emergency Operations Center, from the State of Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities, from Tlingit and Haida. We also have representatives from the school district and, the American Red Cross joining us as well to talk about different aspects of our disaster response today. We'll start this discussion with a weather update and conditions update from Nicole Farron at the National Weather Service, followed by some safety information from Assistant Chief Sam Russell, and then we'll move into a situation update and recommendations from the agencies involved in our response efforts. Forgive me, as those of you downtown may be hearing small natural avalanches occurring. So if we turn our heads during this meeting, that may be what it's regarding. As you know, we're all in a live evacuation advisory. So moving quickly, I'm going to pass the mic over to Nicole Farron of the National Weather Service. Thank you, Nicole.
Good morning, everyone. Nicole Farron, National Weather Service Morning Coordination Meteorologist here in Juneau. Specifically for the Juneau area, we did receive reports of 3 to 7 inches of snow overnight. Greatest amounts were out the road. In fact, temperatures at Cohen Drive out the road are still 28 degrees. And so there could be some freezing rain going on out there. However, downtown is above freezing and snow levels have risen above 2,000 feet now. And we saw a changeover to rain around 8 a.m. this morning with moderate to heavy rates increasing as we speak. Rain falling on that hard packed snow will become very icy. And if it's falling on any unplowed snow, it will be very slushy and become more and more difficult to move. We do expect the heaviest rain to be this afternoon through this evening, but then closer to midnight, rainfall rates will drop off and become light, with light to moderate rain continuing through Saturday. So for that reason, we do have a flood watch that remains in effect for localized flooding, ponding of water on roadways, and other hazards that can come out of that, like hydroplaning and things like that. So for safety concerns, if you're not sure how deep the water is across a roadway or otherwise, or if you don't know if your vehicle can make it through, then find an alternate route. If your tailpipe is reaching the level of the water, then you could easily get stuck and cause more issues there. Also want to remind folks to check on their vessels. Additional water onto snowfall can swamp boats. Happy to take any questions if you have any.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. One quick housekeeping item I forgot to mention. We are taking questions through the Q&A feature, so please include your questions in that Q&A option, and my colleague will share them at designated times during the briefing. I think we'll go ahead and move on to our next item, and we'll come back to questions for Nicole a little bit later. Thanks, Nicole. Assistant Chief Sam Russell. Thank you.
Good morning. So safety briefing wise, the obvious hazard that just went out is the avalanche warning, and we need people to evacuate. Evacuating the area prevents you from being in harm's way, which then allows us to have resources to go to those folks that still need us. We In addition to this emergency in general, we still have other emergencies that happen throughout town. And so we don't want to tie up responders for heart attacks or fires or any of the other emergencies that we respond to with folks that are stuck in their house due to the evacuation. So know your evacuation routes and follow your evacuation routes so that you can get to a safe location, stay out of the avalanche zones. I'm going to tag on to something that Nicole talked about, which is as this rain event continues, we're going to have water on the roadways and water in different places. It's going to cause the roadways to become very, very slippery. And if you hydroplane or slide or anything else, that's going to cause some issues on the roadways as well. So we want you to be safe. If you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. Evacuate from the areas that need to evacuation and just be safe out there.
Thank you, Assistant Chief. At this time, it looks like we do have a couple questions for Nicole. Please continue to put your questions in the chat for either Nicole or Assistant Chief Russell. Phil, since I'm on, I'll go ahead and read a question from Becky Boer at the Associated Press. Nicole, can you share the snowfall totals for December at the airport and the totals so far this month?
Sure. So for the month of December, we saw 82 inches of snow at the Juneau airport. And sorry. So far this month, we've gotten 9.3 inches of snow. So our normal for an entire season is 87.3 inches. So we well surpassed our normal for an entire season so far at the Juneau airport.
Okay, and then I'm going to quickly run through one more question from Jamie Deep at KTOO. At 9:30 this morning, I heard downtown and Douglas were getting rain. The Valley and Lemon Creek were getting rain-snow mixture, and North Road was getting snow still. What does that mean for potential storm impacts?
Well, out the road, like I said, had more snow. We got reports of 6 to 7 inches at Amalga and Cohen Drive areas. And so they were still seeing some heavy snow early this morning, but we do expect them to be fully changing over to rain as well. Like the fire department there said, that will cause more difficult travel conditions out the road with the greater snowfall that they saw. But do expect them to also see rain with this event, and so other flooding concerns even out there.
Okay, thank you. We do have 2 more questions from Jamie related to broader southeast or southern southeast and roof loads, but Jamie, I think we'll save those for later in the conversation because we want to move on to talking a bit about avalanches for a moment. So next up, I'm going to pass the mic over to Ryan O'Shaughnessy, Emergency Programs Manager for the City and Borough of Juneau.
Thanks, Ashley. Like you said, my name is Ryan O'Shaughnessy. I'm the Emergency Programs Manager for the CBJ. First, I want to thank everyone on this call and all of our responders and then personnel in the EOCs within our various agencies that are working really hard to coordinate this response. This is a tough one. This storm has impacted every aspect of all of our lives, both personally and professionally. I think everyone is tired. I know I've shoveled roofs in my driveway more times than I can count. But I want to stress that we are not out of the woods, and there are still significant hazards that remain for the public. So this morning, and we've been discussing the 3 primary mission areas for CBJ's emergency response. Those look like avalanche monitoring, our horizontal infrastructure, meaning roads, storm drains, fire hydrant access, and vertical infrastructure, roof loads on critical facilities, schools, hospitals, wastewater and water treatment facilities. So to speak to that first mission, which today has become the most emergent, avalanche risk. Shortly before 11 a.m. this morning, the CBJ issued an alert through the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, as well as our opt-in alert sense system, advising residents in known slide paths to evacuate from their residences. This is not a decision that we made lightly. We've been monitoring the current conditions in partnership with our internal resources, all of the industry experts, National Weather Service, all of our agency partners. And we've come to this decision to ultimately protect life and safety. We have been framing this evacuation risk in terms of ready, set, go. Through the duration of this storm event, we've been letting the community know that we are at set. We've been asking folks to know where you're going to go, have your bag packed, keep it by the door. It's time to enact those plans. Grab your go bag. If you live in a slide path, it's time to grab your go bag and get out of your house and make other arrangements until the hazard has cleared. We have worked very closely with the American Red Cross to make emergency evacuation shelters available at Centennial Hall. That shelter, if it's not open right now, should be open within minutes. And we really appreciate that partnership. I want to thank all of the local residents who, again, are impacted by this storm, who are making time to volunteer with the Red Cross and assist us and help their neighbors at that shelter. Aside from the urban avalanche risk, we are continuing to work on our two other missions as a part of this disaster. Our teams continue to clear roads. You see CBJ street crews and DOT highway crews out clearing roads, making those fire hydrants accessible, and trying to open up those storm drains to prevent the localized flooding that Nicole was talking about. As you're shoveling your driveways, we'd love to ask the public, if you see a storm drain, please open it up. That'll help us reduce flooding and reduce some of the impacts of this storm. We're also continuing to monitor, assess, and clear snow loads off of roofs of critical facilities as is appropriate. Yesterday, we did relocate. The school district made the choice to relocate students from one school, and we'll hear a little bit more about that from Superintendent Hauser. But we, again, don't take these protective actions lightly. Our primary objective will always be to protect life and safety and make sure that Juneau is a safe place to live for our community. I think I'll end there. I'm sure we'll get into more with questions, but I just want to reiterate that we really could not do this without all of our partner agencies and all of our staff that's working really hard and working long hours, both in the field, clearing streets, clearing roofs, and here in our EOC, making decisions and coordinating this response. So we thank, again, all of our agency partners and all of our staff very much.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I think we'll move through situation updates from each of our partner agencies and then save Q&A for the full group at the end of that conversation. Next up, I'd like to invite Vicki from Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities to provide an update.
Good morning. Thank you, Ashley. I'm Vicki Roberts with the Alaska Department of Transportation. With the emergency declaration in place, our priority in Juneau is keeping people safe and informed as winter conditions continue to impact our roadways. First off, I want to mention that Thane Road will be closed starting at noon today, and we're urging drivers and residents to plan ahead and avoid the area once the closure is in effect. We have detected numerous small avalanches along Thane Road this morning, and we are expecting increased avalanche activity this evening due to continued heavy precipitation, strong winds, and warming temperatures. Because of the forecasted conditions, this closure could extend for multiple days, and we are advising people to plan accordingly. This is a little different than what we've seen in the past, so please be prepared. On the roadways today, DOT crews are actively plowing and treating roads across Juneau with a focus on priority 1 through priority 3 routes to keep our community moving as safely as possible. Our plow drivers are paying extra close attention to icing, especially on priority 2 routes and at higher elevations, where conditions can change quickly and without warning. Operators are continuously reporting road conditions back to supervisors, allowing us to make real-time decisions on roadway treatment and safety recommendations. In addition to our work in Juneau, ADOT&PF is responding to severe weather across the region. This morning, avalanche activity was reported in the Haines area, and our crews are closely monitoring conditions there as part of our regional responsibilities. We're asking people to slow down, give plows plenty of space, and check 511 Alaska before heading out. Conditions can change quickly, especially with icing. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicki and Alaska DOT&PF. Sabrina Grubitz, could you provide a report from Tlingit and Haida?
Hello, as mentioned, my name is Sabrina Grubitz. I'm the Tlingit and Haida Public Safety Manager. As we continue through this disaster, Tlingit and Haida has actively been working facilities and transportation teams to keep our buildings clear and clean of snow to the best of our abilities. In addition to that, we've been having a heavy focus on melt, rain, and runoff from this event, and continuing to support in clearing the different storm drains in our areas for our buildings that we have. In addition to that, as a regional tribal government, we are aware that there are other events happening throughout Southeast that may be impactful to our citizens. And so we continue to work with our team to reach out to those communities and check in and see what other support is available that we might be able to provide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. And I'm going to put him on the spot, but I failed to mention earlier that Captain Fields from the U.S. Coast Guard has also joined us. Captain Fields, do you have anything you'd like to add in terms of a situation update?
Good afternoon. Captain Stan Fields from Coast Guard Sector Southeast Alaska. Just like to iterate that we are lashed up with our local partners at CCFR and for EMS services to provide waterside transport in the event anything is needed to get into Thane or around any of the areas that might be impacted or might be at high risk for traveling on the road system. But other than that, we have crews that are on standby at a moment's notice to provide support with a capability, capacity to flex in the event that more than what we have on ready is sufficient. Over.
Thank you so much, Captain Fields. I think we will now move to Q&A for this portion. We're going to keep questions specific to the avalanche risk and evacuation advisory for now. Starting with a question from Mark Sabatini from the Juneau Independent. For anyone on the evacuation order, does it apply to Thane residents, or are they simply going to have to shelter in place while the road to downtown is closed?
So I can speak to that, and then I'll hand it over to Vicki for any comments from DOT. So currently, the evacuation area, or excuse me, the CBJ evacuation advisory is for all known slide paths. One of the best ways for folks to be prepared is to visit the CBJ Avalanche website, where you can see an advisory and an update about current conditions. But more importantly, there's a huge button for folks to know their risk. And that will take folks to an interactive mapping tool where you can quickly punch in your address and very clearly see whether or not your address is within a known slide area. Residents who are not in a known slide area should, like our Assistant Chief Russell said, please keep the roads clear, stay home, and make way for that evacuation effort. For residents specifically on Thane, I can't speak to DOT's decision-making, and I'll let Vicki speak to that. But residents who live on the Thane Road who are not in a known slide area, I would generally recommend that they heed that advice. Please stay home. Do not limit your travel through known hazard areas, which does include the Thane Highway. Vicki, is there anything to add to that?
Just that DOT's role is to manage the roadway safety and provide accurate, timely travel information. And so we rely heavily on the CBJ emergency management officials to make the determination on evacuation or shelter in place. In a lot of instances, we just lean heavily on that guidance that is going out.
Thanks, Vicki. Yeah, we really value the close partnership between the CBJ and the Department of Transportation. I do acknowledge that that is the only way in and out of the Thane neighborhood, and we're very grateful to our partnership with the Coast Guard, as Captain Fields mentioned. We are working to coordinate what any potential emergency transportation or response would look like for that neighborhood during the duration of the highway closure.
Thanks, Ryan and Vicki. I'm going to move to the next question, which is from Hannah Lee of Alaska's News Source. For people who need to evacuate, how long should they be prepared to be gone from their house? And should they do anything to prep their house before they leave, especially with snowfall on roofs?
That's a great question. Now is the time to evacuate. Now is not the time to clear your roof. Now is not the time to make final preparations. Now is the time to evacuate and leave your home. In terms of how long can folks expect to be gone, we sure hope not that long, but we are not going to lift that evacuation advisory until the best available data and recommendation from the experts indicate that the area is safe. That could be, it could be several days.
Thanks, Ryan. This is a question from Chris Adlin from the Anchorage Daily News. Ryan, do you know how many residents are in the slide areas of potential avalanches?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, I think the best thing to do is to visit the CBJ Avalanche Advisory website, where you can see a map of exactly where that mapped area of known hazard is. I don't have an exact number off the top of my head, but it is in the hundreds of individuals.
Thank you, Ryan. And can you confirm if there was an avalanche off Mount Juneau in the Chop Gully path at around 10:50 this morning? And have there been reports of other avalanches yet? Thank you, Jamie Deep from KTOO.
Yeah, I think I'll generally say that yes, we have been observing some avalanche, and there have been signs of avalanche activity. But we do have CBJ Avalanche Advisor John Brissett on the call. John, if you want to just speak just to a little bit of what we've observed on the mountain so far today.
Yeah, hi. We have seen quite a few natural avalanches. At this point, I would say we're up to 4 or 5 that we personally witnessed come down the Chop Gully side of Mount Juneau, as well as 1 report of debris in the White Path, and also multiple avalanches along Thane Road this morning. These are all of a little bit smaller size, probably going in the storm snow. Once this rain sets in, our main concern is that a much deeper avalanche could be set off, and that's why we ordered the evacuation advisory.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. But on that note, Jamie Deep from KTOO states that a colleague just witnessed 2 smaller releases on the Barron's Path. Should that be confirmed? How much would those smaller releases reduce the risk of a larger release?
So I'll generally say what we're looking for is small releases. If folks are observing those, please feel free to email those reports to emergency response at juneau.gov. All information is helpful for us to maintain situational awareness. Beyond that, John, if you want to speak a little bit to what that looks like and what we're looking for as far as that small activity.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, in general, mini small slides is going to reduce the hazard overall by decreasing the amount of snow that can come down in a larger slide. So it's actually a good thing that we're seeing smaller slides reducing the total snow load that is capable of producing an avalanche.
Thank you. And staying on that theme, we've shared responses to this before, but just for the folks on the call, are there any plans to conduct or trigger any artificial avalanches to prevent larger, more dangerous natural avalanches? Thank you for the question, Hannah Lee from Alaska's News Source.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we covered this a little bit at our media availability a couple days ago. So there are several slide paths in Juneau, right? We do have the Mount Roberts slide paths, and we have the Mount Juneau slide paths, and then a few others in between. In 2011, the CBJ contracted a comprehensive study of our avalanche problems specific to Mount Juneau, and that report provided some recommendations for strategies to mitigate various slide paths. Unfortunately, the CBJ is not able to mitigate that snowpack with explosives the same way that DOT is able to mitigate slide paths that impact their infrastructure on the Thane Highway. The risk to life, safety, and property is just too high to be initiating controlled avalanches above developed infrastructure. That's not a mitigation activity that the CBJ will utilize.
Thanks, Ryan. We have another question from Becky Boer from the AP. Looking for clarification on the avalanche hazard map. Are the houses situated below the red areas on the map considered in the slide area? Can you clarify that, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that hazard area reflected on that map is included of what's called the runout area. So that red area on the map is inclusive of the full hazard area. I think I would just add to that you know, while that map and all of our decisions are always informed by the best available data, if folks live close to that map and for them they've made a personal decision that it's too close for comfort, they're also welcome at any kind of evacuation shelters or anything like that. And we would just ask people to look at that map and make sure that they know their exposure to this hazard when they make their decisions.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. This one might actually be for Vicky and DOT. Are there any concerns of avalanches impacting Egan Drive and/or Salmon Creek Dam?
Thank you for that question. I may need to phone a friend on this one. I do believe there is potential impact if a slide comes down in that neighborhood, the Barron's neighborhood, to crossing the roadway. Chris, are you on the call to clarify those risks? I know we've been looking at this a lot this morning.
Yeah, there's my camera. Yes, that risk path does and has the potential to cross Egan in the event of a pretty large slide event. And so we are looking at mitigation measures to what does that mean. Maybe you can repeat the question because I also had Pat just walk in from being out the road in Thane. So.
Sorry, that's me. Question was, are there any concerns of avalanches impacting Egan Drive and/or Salmon Creek Dam? And I don't know that the latter is within your purview, but if you could respond to the former.
Yeah, no, the Salmon Creek Dam one is not one that's in our purview. What we're concerned about is the paths that are shown on that map that CBJ has on their website, and those are the ones that we closely monitor along with CBJ and take a lot of our lead from CBJ as to what the indications they're giving us. So we'll be continuing to assess that as this moves forward on what we need to do, and are actively asking those questions and looking into those circumstances.
Thank you. I don't know that we have anyone on the call that can speak to the Salmon Creek Dam question, but we will get back to you on that. Unless Ryan, you have any.
I would just add that in the event of an avalanche that did impact the highway, our agencies collectively are engaged in planning conversations of what that would look like. And we really appreciate those partnerships with Tlingit, Haida, with DOT, with the U.S. Coast Guard. That would surely be a whole community event, and while it does impact specific jurisdictions, we're very committed to working together to navigate this hazard, especially in that kind of extreme condition.
Thanks, Ryan. One more question from Hannah Lee. Will there be any transportation available for residents who may not be able to evacuate on their own?
That's a great question, Hannah. Thank you. For residents who may not be able to evacuate on their own, if someone lives in the hazard area, in the mapped hazard area, and is not able physically to evacuate, I would recommend calling 911. That's the best way to get that information to our EOC, and we can make that assistance. If you're able to evacuate on your own, I want to stress that 911 is for life-threatening emergencies. And if you are able to evacuate on your own, please do not call 911. Please evacuate if you are able. If you live in the mapped hazard area and are unable to leave your home, if you are homebound or otherwise unable, 911 is the appropriate tool.
Thanks, Ryan. If I might just add to your point about making sure that we don't overwhelm our dispatch team at JPD. If you do have questions about the evacuation advisory and it's not a life-threatening situation, please contact the Emergency Programs Office, emergency response at juneau.gov. Our phone number is also on our website. Our colleague Terry is on top of communicating with all of our concerned residents on this topic. So please feel free to reach out in that way. One last question about mapping from Jamie Deep at KTOO. Why doesn't the city list specific neighborhoods for evacuation in its avalanche alerts and is instead directing residents to the MapN website?
Thank you for the question. It's a good one. We don't list specific neighborhoods because for several reasons. First of all, there are many of them. Second of all, the jargon and language can introduce confusion to what people may locally know as like, well, this is the flats or not the flats, and this is the Highlander. Look at the map, know your risk as it relates to your property, and heed the evacuation order if it applies.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions we have on Avalanche for now. So if there's, please feel free as you think of them to put them in the chat and we can save them for the end. But I think I would like to now pass the conversation over to Robert Barr, Deputy City Manager from the City and Borough of Juneau, to give us a situation update on our other storm response efforts. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Ashley. So Ryan's covered a little bit of this already. I will just re-emphasize some of the other things we're working on. I'm primarily going to talk about our vertical infrastructure. We continue to work to both assess, that is one arm of that effort, assess roof loads on public infrastructure, focusing on our essential infrastructure and critical infrastructure. CBJ non-essential facilities closed today for that purpose so that we can focus the capacity that we have on those critical pieces of public infrastructure. So both ongoing work assessing those and then importantly clearing snow load off of those facilities so that they can continue to operate and serve the public. We are seeing and with the rain are expected to continue to see concern in that arena, right? Water is heavier than snow. And so we are working on clearing those roofs as expeditiously as we can. We have ramped up resources, have more resources coming into town, and are engaged with adding local resources to both of those efforts to increase our capacity, both to assess and to clear. I also just want to note that, or just say for those listening that, this really has been an unprecedented event, and I've seen many examples of Juneau residents pulling together that have heartened us. It's true that our response teams and our partner agencies have been doing really phenomenal work, but I also want to recognize that every Juneau resident out there who has been doing what they can do to help dig out, to help clear storm drains, clear fire, open up fire hydrant access, and just help out our friends and neighbors who may need that help, right, and do need that help. So again, in addition to the avalanche risk that we've talked about today, that snow load roof continues to be significant, both for public and we know private and commercial roofs too. We know a lot of people are working on that. And now has never been a better time to sign up for emergency alerts. If you haven't yet, you can find that on our website at juneau.gov. It's towards the bottom of the page, along with knowing your risk related to avalanches if you haven't already done that. So happy to take any questions. And Ashley, I know we have no more agency partners to engage in this section.
Yes, thank you, Robert. I think I'll next go to Vicki Roberts with Alaska DOT. Vicki, I know you shared some of these storm response updates in your earlier comments. Do you have anything to add outside of avalanche risk work that DOT is doing?
No changes from yesterday or Wednesday's report. We are continuing to monitor for localized flooding and clearing drains, in addition to the avalanche monitoring and risk assessments that we're doing. So no additional updates. Thank you.
I think I'll offer that question again to Sabrina Grubitz of Tlingit and Haida.
Thank you, Ashley. At this time, Tlingit and Haida is aware that we do have citizens and employees within the avalanche slide zone area. So we are just encouraging them and the community as a whole to continue to heed the guidance and the warnings from the city and DOT at this time. Please make sure to follow up with their suggestions. And then we will also be recirculating that information through our emergency communications system, Everbridge, to ensure that they are all informed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. And now I'd like to invite Frank Hauser, Superintendent for the Juneau School District, to share an update.
Thank you. Frank Hauser, Superintendent, Juneau School District. Schools were closed again today because of the new storm. We don't know at this time what next week will bring. We'll continue to monitor conditions and receive reports from CBJ and engineers on the roofs. Walkthroughs of our facilities will be occurring throughout the weekend. Additional crews to shovel snow are also being brought on board. Our facilities were cleared for occupancy this week by the engineers. I've said we're monitoring and continue to monitor the situation, and yesterday that situation changed at Mendenhall River Community School. Engineers were on site in the morning to conduct a walkthrough. The main building was cleared for occupancy, and the roof shoveling was to begin today. During a later review by CBJ and engineers, the situation changed and we took immediate action. I would like to thank MRCS staff, Thunder Mountain staff, district office staff, and First Student, who all worked together to provide buses, lunches, gym space, supervision, and reunification support. I also want to thank and recognize the students too for a calm and orderly transition. Buses started loading at 12:33 p.m. and the building was all cleared with students arriving at Thunder Mountain Middle School by 12:50 p.m., less than 20 minutes after buses started loading. By 2:40 p.m., all students had been picked up by families or by their regular school bus. CBJ and engineers are going to keep monitoring the roofs at other school buildings over the weekend. Once we have data from over the weekend, if we have any additional school closures as a result of roof clearing, those schools will transition to remote learning. Principals will reach out with more information as we continue to monitor the changing conditions. Please watch for updates on the school district website as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Hauser. Now we're going to move to open Q&A on any topic related to either the storm recovery or the avalanche risk. I'm going to start with a question from Jamie Deep of KTOO. This is for Nicole Farron. I saw in the flood watch product that areas in southern southeast may see flooding due to snowmelt runoff, but in Juneau that's still uncertain. What does that depend on? How warm we get, or when the switch to rain is, how much rain we get? Also, previously, you stated that the snow had dry layers that were expected to absorb a lot of rain. Is that still true? And what does that mean for weight on roofs? That was a long one. Let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
I'm able to see the questions in the
Okay,
sidebar. Great. Thank you very much. Well, a flood watch is issued when flooding is possible in the kind of distant future. And now we're at the day of the event. And so we often, especially with aerial flood watches, warnings, or advisories, it's more about getting flooding reports and things like that to when to elevate to from a watch to another type of product. This behaves a lot different than other flooding products that we issue, like for rivers, because we actually have stream gauges and forecasts for those things. In this case, we couldn't be 100% sure of how where the water would go based on drainages. You know, if you do mitigation, then it could be more or less impactful. And so we are starting to see ponding in some areas, and we have gotten reports of that. And so since the press conference started at 11:50 a.m., our office did add a flood advisory for the Juneau area for some localized flooding that is being observed. And we do expect that to continue with additional rainfall. And folks are welcome to report flooding to our office, and we can certainly add that kind of enhanced wording into our updated statements. And with that said, you know, other parts of Southeast also have significant snowpack. And so if anyone from outside of Juneau's listening in, you're welcome to report things to our office as well. And you mentioned about the southern panhandle. They didn't have snow, much snowfall at sea level, and so it's instantly runoff. Whereas here, that snow we have on the ground is absorbing some of the rain, but any rain that's falling on roads and things that are already cleared is just able to accumulate essentially in place. I don't really have too much additional on the roof weight. I think that both the superintendent and Robert Barr kind of addressed some of that, but the snow can absorb the water like a sponge, and it certainly does that. Each roof is different and can drain water in different ways compared to the ground.
Thanks, Nicole. I next have two questions related to snow removal at Valley Schools. Excuse me. How has again, a question from Jamie Deep at K2OO. Both of these questions are from Jamie. How has last night's precipitation affected snow removal efforts at Glacier Valley and Mendenhall River Community School? And what is the timeline for snow removal at the two schools now?
Thanks, Ashley. I can take that one. So the teams have largely moved from Glacier Valley. That's the removal there is largely complete, and moved to Mendenhall River Community School. That work will continue today and throughout the weekend. Removing snow from roofs is heavy work, and our teams are becoming more efficient over time. I don't have exact estimates on how long it will take us to clear Mendenhall River or any facility after Mendenhall River as we make those priority assessments. There was another part of that question.
The timeline for snow removal?
Yeah, I think, oh, how has the precipitation affected snow removal? So as Nicole answered this question well, we expect snow weights to increase because of the rain until it is able to warm up sufficiently for that snow ice melt to drain both through the roof drains, which we're giving careful attention to, as well as off the roofs through you know, gutter and gutter style systems. So that's what I have on that, and I think Superintendent Hauser may be best suited for the next question.
Sure. Superintendent Hauser, if the district needs to keep schools closed for next week, is the district considering moving to remote learning for all students, and how would that be implemented?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So if we do have to transition to a remote learning, and like I said earlier, once we have the data over the weekend, if we do have any additional school closures as a result of roof clearing, those specific schools will transition to remote learning. So if for some reason Mendenhall River's roof is not fully cleared yet, At that point, then Mendenhall River might transition to remote learning. We wouldn't call a closure for all the district unless there are other factors. We've heard a lot about the avalanche risk. Though none of our schools are in the avalanche zones, it is something that could inhibit transportation. And so as we're looking at that and looking at the road conditions, those are factors we take and we'll look at a more broad potential school closure. But at this time, looking at next week as the engineers are going around monitoring our roofs and the snow load and clearing our facilities for occupancy, looking at next week, if they're ready to be occupied, students will go back. If they're not ready to be occupied because of roast clearing taking place, then those specific schools will transition to remote learning. Principals will be reaching out with more information as we continue to monitor the roofs and if a building is going to move into remote learning.
Thank you, Superintendent. Before I get to this last question, we did have another crowdsourced question about Capital City Transit and whether we're operating as normal. My understanding is they're operating on snow routes and still not able to make stops on Glacier Highway between the federal building and the hospital, but are instead using Egan. For the time being, Capital Transit continues to provide updates on those route changes on their website, but still operating on snow routes and the limited stops downtown on Glacier Highway. Ryan, anything to add?
No, that's perfect, Ashley. I just another opportunity to always mention, please sign up for alerts. We'll let you know if there's anything urgent.
Thank you. And then a question from Becky at the Associated Press, a clarifying question from earlier. Nicole, when you earlier said that our normal for the season is 87.3 inches, what is the season and what months does that span?
Yeah, I saw your question and quickly double checked my numbers there. It should be 87.6 is our normal, and that's for the whole year. The way that you calculate a normal is from 1991 to 2020, and it's the sum of all the months. So in a season, it'd be generally October through April. The normal for all other months are 0. So that's a sum of the monthly normals. 87.6 is our normal for a season.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. And then a follow-up question for Superintendent Hauser. In addition to road conditions from avalanches, what are other factors that would lead the district to close schools district-wide?
Oh, thanks for the question. One of the big factors is student transportation, our buses being able to transport students from their neighborhood, from the bus stops, safely to school. And that means that are there enough space for buses to get through on the main roads, turn in, and drop students off and pick students up. Of course, there are sometimes if there's a lot of snow coming down and visibility is low, that could have an impact too. Those are a couple of the factors that we look at with transportation to and from school, as well as some of the clearing of the roads, and making sure that if it's heavy ice, heavy snow, all those factors take into place. Oftentimes at about 4:15 in the morning during events, CBJ, as well as NOAA, I'm reaching out to them and checking on roads, checking on anticipated weather events that might be happening later in the day that could potentially impact schools and transportation to and from schools for students.
Thank you, Superintendent. One more for you when again from Jamie Deep at KTOO. Two more for you from Jamie Deep at KTOO. When most schools reopen this week, the district stated that any absences due to severe weather would be excused. Do you know how many students or families utilized this option for the 2 days that schools were open?
I'm not. I'd have to go back and look at the specific numbers on absences that were requested by families. I don't have that data on me right now.
Thanks. And what are ways that families can ensure they are receiving the necessary information from the school district?
Yes, thank you for this question. That's one of the things we often communicate with families is always check your contacts if you change an address, email, phone number, or anything along those lines. Have changed emergency contacts. Yesterday reuniting Mendenhall River Community School students with families went very smooth. I really want to thank the families. They came over, followed directions. It was really efficiently well done, and I really appreciated the families that came in and were ready to reconnect with their students. But you always making sure that we have the most up-to-date information. So then when we send out those alerts, whether it's through text, we send out voicemail, as well as emails. But we also have the app, the Juneau School District app, and I would encourage anyone to sign up for the app. You can find that for both iPhones and for the Android phones. Is one of the best ways of receiving the most up-to-date communications, not only for your student-specific school, but also for as many schools across the district you want, as well as district-wide alerts.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. We appreciate all the questions and the quick responses. I know families are eager to have this information quickly. It sounds like we're getting a few requests for some clarifying questions about transit in and around the Avalanche area. Ryan, could you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ashley. Protection of life safety will always be our #1 priority. And to that end, our team at Capital Transit has suspended bus service along Glacier Highway in that Avalanche area. Specifically, that really looks like between the federal building and the hospital on Glacier Highway. Capital Transit routes are still running on Egan, but stops that are located along Glacier Highway are not being serviced at this time due to avalanche risk. I also just wanted to point out, Ashley, there's another question here about the safety of the bridge and folks having some concern about getting from Douglas into town to go to the grocery store and things like that. The bridge is not in an avalanche hazard area. I would again just really recommend everybody please go to the CBJ Avalanche Advisory website. And there's a map there that you can really clearly see where is in the area, the avalanche hazard area, and where is not. And please make your travel decisions accordingly.
Thank you, Ryan. We don't have any questions remaining at this time. I want to take a moment and thank all of our panelists, our subject matter experts from all of our partner agencies from joining us today. We don't currently have another media briefing scheduled, but if we need to get information out to our community quickly, we will certainly reach out to members of the media to set something up. In the meantime, please sign up for CBJ alerts, CBJ emergency alerts, and tune into our website and Facebook page for the latest updates. We will push out information as it comes in as quickly as possible, but you are also welcome to reach out to us in the meantime. Thank you again. Ryan, did you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
It's always encouraging everyone, please sign up for emergency alerts, and just also acknowledging emergency preparedness takes the whole community. We really appreciate everyone's efforts from all of our partner agencies to individual community members. We're all in this together, and the way out of it's together. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.